Now we're making good progress. There's just one last version of the for loop, which you also should know since it is also rather important and common to use. We have this last function here, which should be triggered if the user chooses option number 4. And here the idea is that unlike in option number 3, we don't keep on entering numbers after each other, but instead we just provide one input, which is a list of numbers, separated by white space or commas, that's up to you. And then we want to take that list, so that array or slice, which it in the end should be, and add up all the values in that list. And that is another common use case, that you have a list of data, an array of data, or a slice of data, or even a map of data, and you then want to go through all the values stored in that list, in that collection, and do something with that data. For example, add it up, send it to a database, whatever your application should do. And that's also a use case that is supported by Go and the for loop, just again another version of the for loop. So therefore, to implement this, let's go to this function, calculate list sum. And first of all, I'll tell the user which kind of input we want. Please enter a, let's say, comma separated list of numbers. That's what I want as an input. Of course, as I said, you can go for other separators as well. And then here we want to get that input. Now here I won't use get input number because we'll not get a single number but a list of numbers instead. So this function, which then tries to convert the input to a single number, would fail. So instead I'll just grab this part of the function where we get and clean the raw input, and I will simply execute that here to get my input number list actually. That's a more fitting name, which I want to use here, input number list. And of course here I'm checking for errors, and I want to return if we got an error. But I then also of course want to again print a message where I say invalid input, something like that. Now with that we got a number list in the end, and it's important to understand that when we reach that line, and we do have some valid input, we'll have some input which looks like that. A string, and then hopefully a list of numbers like that. Comma separated with no white space after the comma, just commas as separators. And very important, it's a string, not an array or slice. It looks like a list to us humans, but technically it will still be a string. So in order to work with that and to have an array or a slice, we need to convert our string, which is comma separated, or maybe white space separated, or separated by semicolons, depending on what you chose. And we need to split that string and these separated values up and transform that into a real list, into a real array or slice. And thankfully, there is a built-in functionality in Go that helps us achieve this. It's again available on the strings package, just like replace was. And here we got the split function. And that function does what the name implies. It takes a string as a first parameter value, and then as a second parameter value, the separator by which we want to split the characters or the values in the string, and it will then return us a slice of strings. Very important, note the square brackets here. We get back a slice of string values. So here, I want to pass in the input number list, and then as a second value, pass in the separator by which I want to split, and in my case, that's a comma. And just a comma, not comma white space, not a semicolon, just a comma. Because I expect this kind of input. If you expect a different kind of input, if you expect a different separator, you of course need to change that separator here. Now, split then returns this slice of strings, and just that slice of strings, no error. And therefore what I get back are my input numbers, a brand new variable which I create here, which will be that slice of strings. And actually, that's important. I named it input numbers because I will have numbers as values, hopefully. But technically, from a type point of view, we'll still be dealing with strings here. So we still have to convert the individual string values to real numbers then to perform a mathematical calculation. But we'll do this in the next step, because as a first step, I now want to again use a loop.